unfinished business, a modern piece of glasswork down on the corner that you walk each day in passing. The elderly sales clerk won't ask with suspicion. The whole of motor corporation's giving its permission. A thousand little Julias, they come together in the middle of Manhattan. You waited since lunch, it all comes at once.
All right, so about 6-7 years ago, I was teaching guitar at H&H, and there was just people that would call, ask for people to play for their wedding or even funerals, birthday parties, anything. One day I got a call from a woman who wanted me to play for a wedding. It seemed pretty clear enough. The wedding was in June, about 6 months away. I said, sure, the date worked with my schedule. And so we started talking price, and I said, well, my typical rate is about $100 per song. And I asked her how many songs she had. She wanted me to do 2 instrumentals, just some old standards, really, and then 1 song with her friend who was going to be singing. So I would be the accompanist of this song, and she said, have you ever heard It Had to Be You? And she sung a few bars, It Had to Be You. And I said, yeah, I'm familiar. So I said, well, that's 3 songs. It should be about $300. And she said, well, that's a lot more than we budgeted for. And I didn't want to turn her away because of money, so I said, okay, well, how much did you plan on? And she said, well, we could probably do $75. I said, okay, well, $75 for 3 songs, $75 each. And I said, let me get a calculator. And she said, oh, no, I mean $75 total. And I said, well, that's considerably less than 300. But it was just 3 songs and whatever, I didn't care. So I said, okay. And she said that she would give her friend, who she said her name was Ronnie, she would give Ronnie my number, and she would get a hold of me. And I said, well, we need to get together and rehearse this number. And
what was Ronnie's last name?
Johnstone, middle name K, Ronnie K. Johnstone. It kind of flows together really nicely. But anyway, so she said that she would pass my information along, and we would connect later. But like 6 months went by. I never heard anything. I mean, I had it written in my calendar, but kind of forgot about it, And the Wednesday before the Saturday, I think it was like June 10th or 11th or something like that when they were getting married. Anyway, the Wednesday before that Saturday, I get a phone call, and this woman introduces herself as Ronnie K. Johnstone, and it takes a minute, but it clicks after she starts talking. She tells me who she is and what, and that she's ready to rehearse now. And I said, well, we've only got like 3 days to get this song together, but if you've been practicing, I'm sure it'll be fine. And she said, well, yeah, I just don't know what key I'm singing in. And I said, well, it's okay, we can figure it out. And she said, well, it'd be best for you to go ahead and practice, so that way when we get together, you don't have to, worry about it. And I said, well, I guess so. But she kind of stops me and says, I'm just going to sing for you, and you tell me what key I'm singing in. There's no way I'm going to know what key she's singing in, but I say, okay. And she starts singing, It Had to Be You, Wonderful You. And I let her go for 30, 40 seconds. I'm just driving down the road, listening to this woman sing. And I said, sounds like you're in the key of C. She bought it, and that was about the end of it. She then asked me as we were wrapping up the conversation and kind of getting time worked out. We decided on Friday afternoon at noon. So I guess that wouldn't be afternoon, that'd be at noon. We decided Friday at noon, and we would meet at the church because there should be some people setting up, and we'd be able to get in and do our stuff. As we're wrapping up, she says, have we met before? I said, oh, I don't know, I don't think so. And she said, are you tall and really good looking? And I said, well, I'm about 6 foot or so, but I think my looks are more of an acquired taste. And she said, well, if you're who I think you are, you're something hot. And, you know, I want to be flattered, but I said, well, you know, I guess we'll see when we get together. And she said, well, you would remember if you met me. I've got long black hair and bright red lips, and I look like Catherine Zeta-Jones. I said, ma'am, we have definitely never met before, because I would have remembered someone that looked like Catherine Zeta-Jones. And she said, yes, you would have. And I said, well, you know what? This is something we'll just have to wait and see. You know, maybe we've met before. Maybe I am who you think I am. I don't know. But we'll find out Friday when we get together. So that was good enough for her. And honestly, I was you know, I'm looking forward to meeting this one. And so we wrapped things up, and I stopped by H&H and grabbed the sheet music for It Had to Be You, and we were ready to go. Friday rolls around, day before the wedding. I have my guitar and I've got the music, and I'm going to meet Ronnie at the church. And I pull into the parking lot. She's sitting on the porch of this church with these two children, and she's on her cell phone. I get out of the truck and get my guitar and the music, and I start making my way towards her. She's yelling on this phone. I mean, her face is red. I mean, I can see it as I'm coming up, and I really can't make out, you know, how good looking she is or any of that. All I can see is this bright red cheeks that are flushed, and she's yelling on her phone, and she says, "That woman stole stuff from me. That was my manuscript, and you better get it back. You better get that back." I mean, I'm a little scared, you know? And these children are there. There's a little boy and a little girl. The little girl's coloring, I think, and the little boy's, I don't know, he's made a sword out of a stick or something. So as I get closer to her, you know, she's there trying to corral these kids up and just kind of get them settled on the porch. And I kind of wave, and I'm you know, I'm a little nervous. I'm not for sure, you know, if she's as, you know, pretty as she made out. And she's sitting there, and I can tell that she's got these real tight black spandex kind of pants on, and this shirt. As I get closer, I see in big letters, I was in the off-Broadway production of The Music Man. And so I get up close enough to where now I can see her face. I'm guessing she's maybe 50, 55. I mean, maybe that's how old Catherine Zeta-Jones is, but they do not look the same. Not by a long shot. So anyway, I was like, well, you know, this isn't exactly what I thought it was going to be, but I still got a job to do. So I get my guitar out. We're sitting on the porch there. It's a little warm, you know. It's June, so she's complaining about the heat pretty regularly. I'm tuning my guitar and stuff, and she asked me questions like, "Hey, would you believe that I used to live in LA and party with Sting?" And I said, "I have no reason not to believe that you didn't live in LA and haven't partied with Sting." And she's like, well, if you didn't believe me, you wouldn't have said so anyway. And I'm like, well, you know, maybe not, but that's your life, and it sounds like you've had a lot of fun, you know, when you were younger. And anyway, that was all she said of that, and then it's just very strange. And she said, well, have you been practicing the song? And, you know, key of C, right? And I said, yeah, we'll figure it out. And before I can even begin the intro to It Had to Be You, she says, I'm too hot. I'm too hot out here. I can't sing out here. It's too hot. And I said, well, all right. Can we go inside? She's like, well, no, we can't go inside. No one's here yet. I said, well, should we wait for someone to get here? Well, I don't know, but all I know, it's too hot out here, and I can't sing out here. It's just too hot. I'm not, you know, she was in tears. So I said, okay, what are your options? Do you have any other places to go where we could practice? And she says, well, I know the owners of Synchronicity, which is an art gallery downtown. Tell you what, we can go there. They've got a place where people read poetry and do music and things like that. We can practice there. I know they'll let us in to practice. Like I said, I know the owner, and he'll be cool with it. I said, well, that's fine. You know, if you're familiar with this place and the people who work there. So we're getting to our car, and before I get in, she corrals the kids inside, which, as we're leaving, she says that she's watching these kids today because they're her daughter's children and they're her grandchildren, and so they're going to be tagging along with this as we go. I mean, I didn't figure she was going to leave them at the church, so that was fine. But before we head out, she kind of yells over, "Hey, can I follow you? Because I just don't know how to get there." So we pull up to Synchronicity. It's a decent place, I guess, but she introduces me to her friend, part owner, whatever this guy is. Nice enough guy. He says, you're welcome to take a look around. And I see other artists laying around. A lot of weed going on in this place, right? And there were other people there that were kind of the same demographic of individual. I mean, it was a very strange place. It's not the type of Lion's Den I typically hang out in. And this little area in the back they had us go to, kind of like a little stage area with some microphones and stuff. I get my guitar out. I've already tuned, so we're good there. And just start playing through the intro. She consistently was singing in the key of C, and I said, "No, this is your start note," and I'd play it for her, ding, and she'd match it, and then when she started, she would be, it was awful. It was awful. She just wouldn't keep the note in mind. She wouldn't listen to the guitar. She was just doing her own thing, and I said, "Look, why don't you keep singing? I'll find your key, and we'll just match it." After kind of thumbing around for a while, I did find that she was in the key of C, but before we actually got into the swing of things, this guy walks in who was, I don't know, late 50s, early 60s, kind of a scrawny, straggly looking guy. He's carrying a to-go bag that said "thank you" on the side, like he got some Chinese takeout or something. He walks up, hair's kind of tousled, got a mock comb over thing going on, and looks at us. We're fumbling around here, and he says, hey, you two want to cut a record? I said, what? What? She said, excuse me, sir? And he said, a record? You two want to cut a record? I think you guys got a good thing going here. Oh yeah, you guys are sounding real. I'm thinking this guy is just being belligerent. He's heckling us is what he's doing. I mean, we don't sound good at all. I said, sir, we're trying to figure out a song here. He's like, no, I'm serious. You guys sound great. I can see it now. You out front, this guy playing the guitar kind of in the back on the side. Oh, I can see it now. And I'm thinking, golly, this guy's really, really, really playing us. And he says, I'm a producer. I've got studios in New York City, Nashville, Chicago, and then one in Evansville here down the street of my house. I'm thinking, okay, the four music capitals of the world. And he says, I'll tell you what, I've recorded people like Bob Dylan, Cowboy Tony, and Cowboy Dave, and several other cowboys. And he said, I've made stars out of every one of them. And oh gosh, this guy is really just yanking a chain, or he's some crazy guy that just hasn't got into the asylum yet, and he's just wandering the streets. But she stops him before he's able to list off all the cowboys he's recorded, and says, I have been waiting for someone like you my entire life. Because you see, I'm the Great Red Hope for all the baby boomers out there who wish they woulda if they coulda. I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna do it for them, and my name's gonna be in lights, and they're gonna know it's me who's out there giving them the show. Oh, I'm the Great Red Hope, you see? So after hearing this, the gentleman introduces himself as David Schumacher. But then he says, you can call me Dollar. And I thought, oh my gosh. He says, well, I tell you what, why don't the two of you come down to my house, come down to my studio. It's also an art gallery, kind of like this place. And you guys can play there. I'll record you as you play, and we'll go get started and lay down some tracks for this album. I'm thinking, oh my gosh. I told him, I said, sir, we just met today. We're not a duo. here. You know, we're not an act. We're just playing for a wedding. It's her friend's wedding. I'm just a hired guitar player. And he says, well, no matter. I'll still record you. I'll still cut you a record. Here's what we'll do. I'll do the first 1,000 CDs for free, but you won't be out a dime. And then after that, you know, you can start paying me back. And I'm thinking, look, I'm not, sir, I'm not willing to make a deal here. You know, we're just playing it for a wedding. And he says, well, it's a lot better place to practice than this. Why don't you come down and just practice and we'll just see how it goes. And before I can turn him down again, she says with lots of vigor, we'll be there. So, you know, what can I do? You know, I've got to practice with this woman and she's heading to his house. As we're walking out, he says, it's at 410 Cherry Street. And I'll see you there. I don't really have a car right now, so if you guys are driving, you might beat me there because I'm on foot. I mean, a very famous, successful producer doesn't have a car at the moment, and so he's walking.
He records Bob Dylan, but he doesn't have a car.
Yeah, that's right. True man likes to keep to his, you know, to his feet. But anyway, he heads towards his house. We get in our vehicles, and we head down there, and so we get to his house. It's about another 5 minutes down the road. Me and the Great Red Hope and her 2 grandchildren are standing on his front porch. And she says, you know what, I don't really want to practice here with my grandchildren around. I know the owner of Penny Lane. It's a coffee shop down the street. What I'll do is I'll take the kids down there, leave them with the owner of Penny Lane, and I'll come back and we'll rehearse. I said, well, you think that's a good idea, just leave your grand? She's like, oh, they're fine. She's a good friend. She's a good friend. So she leaves, and as she's walking down the steps, Dollar comes around the corner, carrying his to-go bag. And then he looks at me, real chipper, and he's like, you want to come inside? And what am I going to do? You know, I got to say yes. So I say, okay. And I follow him inside the back door there. So we go inside. There's a golden retriever that's kind of meeting us at the door, and he says, make sure you close that door behind you, because he'll like to get out. He's a horny dog, you know. And then he looks at me kind of snidely and says, so am I. And I am thoroughly creeped out. I close the door behind me. This dog seems very nice. Dollar makes his way over to the kitchen counter where he's unloading this to-go bag. He's got a variety of soup and odds and ends, some ramen, you know. There's a knock on the door. The Great Red Hope has arrived and she's ready to rehearse. So Dollar lets her in. He takes us to this other little side room, a little smaller than this room here, and says, I've got this whole building mic'd up. I've got it all ran into the studio in the back. And, you know, I said, okay. He said, so just rehearse and we'll record. I said, well, do you need to go hit record? He's like, nah, it's okay. I mean, like, are you recording nonstop or what's going on, you know? But I didn't bother to ask. I just took him at his word. So I get my guitar out. I know she's in the key of C now. I start playing in the key of C. It's not sounding too bad. You know, we make it start to finish through the song. She knows the words. I know the chords. We're good to go. But she says, well, why don't we run it one more time? You know, it's always a good idea to run it twice. No harm in that. So we start from the top again. And this time, she's gotten too comfortable, I think, with the number. She's decided to make it into this Marilyn Monroe sings happy birthday to the president kind of feel. And she starts this pointing business. Each time she says the word you, she rotates between me and Dollar. And so, it had to be you, you know? And then that's to him. And then to me, it had to be you. And I'm like, keep your head down, don't make eye contact, she'll stop eventually, right? No, the whole song, Dollar's getting into it. I see his head swaying like this, you know, he's like, you know, kind of pointing back, like, no, you know? It's awful, it's awful. He's giving her intense elevator rides, just straight up and down, you know, watching her hips sway and all that. I'm mortified, you know, frankly, I'm completely mortified. she gets closer and like flicks my cheek at one point, like, it had to be you, you know. I'm like, oh, you know, it's awful. It's awful. So finally the song is over and I'm really excited about being done with rehearsing. I put my guitar up and I said, well, it's about time for me to get going. I appreciate your time and well, I'm excited to get out of this place. I mean, my guitar's packed up. Dollar stops me on my way out the door and says, hey, why don't I come to the wedding tomorrow and record you guys as you play? That's it. We'll start off with a live album. It'll be like Frampton. I said, okay, look, you can bring whatever equipment you want. You can record as much as you want. That's fine with me, but I'm not going to sign anything. I've got to get going. I'll see you guys later. And I looked at the Great Red Hope and I said, Ronnie, are you coming? And she says, no, I think I'm going to stick around a little while and see what I can work out with Dollar. I left in a hurry. So as I'm walking out of the house, I hear Ronnie beginning to talk to Dollar, again giving her spiel about being the Great Red Hope. She tells him how available she is and that she doesn't have any children, and that the children that were those little kids that were with her were actually a friend's kids and no relation to her. I don't call her out on the fact that she's contradicting herself, but I just think, well, her and Dollar have some contracts to work out this afternoon, and I'm just going to leave them to it. So as I leave, she's, you know, but you see, I'm the Great Red Hope. And then I walk out the door. The next day, I get to the church at noon, which is our designated time to get together. Wedding starts at 2. I pull in the parking lot, and the only person that is there is Ronnie K. Johnstone, the Great Red Hope, in a car with her 2 whatever relation, grandchildren, friends, kids, whatever they are. And she comes over to the truck, to my window, wearing the same clothes as yesterday, just for the record. The same, I was in the off-Broadway production of The Music Man and the tight black spandex. And says, knocks on the window, I roll it down. She says, I don't know why anybody's not here. You know, they've got a wedding to set up for. Someone should be here soon. You know, I'm thinking, no one is set up for this wedding? I mean, this is a wedding. You know, people do this kind of thing. They plan for this stuff for months, you know, years, some people. And there's 2 hours to, you know, to showtime and nothing. I'm thinking, I said, you know, they've got a lot to set up, right? This is a full wedding. She says, yeah, I don't know what they're going to do. Well, you just have to wait and see. And, you know, the wheels in my mind are starting to turn. I've got a birthday coming up in a couple months, you know, or, about a month and a half. I'm thinking, you know, I got a lot of friends in drama, got a lot of friends who know people that would be willing to put me through something like this, you know, to play these parts and make me uncomfortable and, you know, just get a good laugh at it, you know, like they're filming it somewhere or something, you know. I'm thinking this is all candid maybe. And so, you know, I'm starting to buy this in my mind because this cannot happen. People don't go to a church less than 2 hours before the wedding and be like, well, let's throw some flowers up there and see what happens. People don't do that. You know, this isn't how people function. You know, I'm thinking, you know, the thing about the art gallery and Dollar and his house, these people are too weird. But they must have been slipped a 20 or a 50 or something to make this happen, okay? So I'm not buying any of it anymore. You know, I'm looking at Ronnie and something just clicked and I said, well, you know, if they show up, they show up. It doesn't matter. And she says, well, it does matter. They're getting married. You know, well, maybe they eloped. Who knows? And I'm getting really flippant, very laissez-faire at this point. And she says, well, we need to rehearse. And I said, oh, do we? You think so, huh? She says, well, yeah, we only played it twice. Well, I think it's probably good enough. You know, don't you? It's like, no, we should probably at least do it 1 or 2 more times. Said, well, that's fine. Whatever you want to do. We'll see. And she goes back into the whole, you know, I don't know why they're not here yet. They should be. During this time, there's a blue car that pulls in. There's two women in the front seats of the car, and she stops mid-sentence and she says, you know, I don't know why they're not here yet. Do you see that woman in the blue car? And I said, well, yeah, I see that there's 2 women in there. She said, well, the driver, do you see the driver? I said, well, yeah, I see them both. And she says, that woman stole stuff from me. And you know, I've got a restraining order against her, and she's not supposed to be this close to me. I'm still not buying any of this. I'm thinking some random person has pulled into this church parking lot, obviously not the bride, and she's just using it to further along the uncomfortableness of the moment. And I said, oh, yeah, is that true, huh? Huh? Really? I bet. And she said, oh, yeah. You know what? I bet she's got keys to this place and she won't let us in. I said, there's no way to know that, And she says, oh, well, if she had keys, she wouldn't let us in. She stole stuff from me. I said, well, whatever. She said, wait here. I'm going to go talk to her. I'm thinking, all right, now they're bringing in additional people. This is getting a bit much, but whatever. Where's my buddies? Where are they behind the bushes somewhere? She bangs on this woman's window, with her fist, and says, I bet you got a key to this place and you won't let us in. And then the woman in the blue car, I can see her. She's going like this. She's shaking her head violently back and forth. Obviously, no, I don't. And she says, why are you even here? I've got a restraining order against you, and you're not supposed to be this close to me. You stole stuff from me. Anyway, the woman in the blue car is getting very, very tense and uncomfortable. It's very obvious. And so she puts her car in reverse to back out. Now, there's a circle drive on this church parking lot, so there's an entrance and an exit side. The woman in the blue car backs up, getting ready to pull out the exit side. Great Red Hope runs back to her car, grabs her male, we'll just call him grandchild for now, and puts him in the middle of the drive and says, stay there. I'm thinking, what is going on? She's using her grandchildren as blockades. The woman in the blue car backs up, getting ready to go out the entrance side of the drive. The Great Red Hope goes and grabs her female grandchild, the little girl, and puts her in the drive, stands between them on this little grassy area and says, don't move, my Nana, don't move. And I'm thinking, what's going on? It dawns on me, as quick as it came, there's no way this is put on. This is child abuse. She's using these kids as roadblocks. This is not, there's no way that they've been paid to do this. This is just dysfunction. This isn't a gag anymore. The little girl starts weeping and sobbing and says, I can't stay, I can't do it, and runs back to the car, and finally the woman in the blue car pulls out. She tells the boy grandchild, just go back to the car. Comes up to my window and in all sincerity looks at me and says, can you believe that woman? I was honest as I could. I said, I don't believe a lot of what I just saw right now. All this kind of blows me away. Just what happened? This just happened and I'm a little bit shocked. And she says, well, at least she's gone. What? Anyway, finally, in the middle of this back and forth about this altercation between this woman and the kids and the Great Red Hope, another car pulls in. It's some sort of a station wagon or something like that. Anyway, the woman gets out and comes over to the truck, introduces herself as the bride, and says that she's going to go ahead and let us in, and we can get started rehearsing. And some friends are on their way, and they're going to go ahead and set up. It's like 12:30, 1:45 at this point. The wedding starts in an hour and 15 minutes. Most people have music playing by now, let alone not even set up. Anyway, so she goes in the church, lets us in. We set up to rehearse in this little side area off the sanctuary, and Ronnie says that she's going to go ahead and practice it. She's sitting on one end of this round table. I'm sitting on the other, and she's got her elbows on the table and her hand rested or her head in her hands like this, and she's singing to me like this, and then about halfway through the song, she stands up. Starts parading around, doing a little, hip shake back and forth, pointing again. She's back to the point. She's not flipping my cheeks this time, but she's back to the point. And she's getting it very close to my. If I blink, my eyelashes would have hit it. It's getting really far in my face, and then we're done with the song, and then she looks at me and she says a question I've been waiting for her to say for a while. She says, "So do you think it's a bit much? The whole projecting the song. And I said, well, I think it's their wedding, and they need to be the focal point of this show, and so maybe tone it down just a notch so that way they can be the stars, for this half hour. And she says, well, we'll see. I don't know. It just loses something, when you take it down so much. Well, we'll see how this goes. Anyway, I go and off by myself and practice my 2 instrumental numbers that they wanted me to play. She goes in this little side room with a desk and a mirror and puts her makeup on. And she asked me, before she's done with her makeup, she comes out and says, can we run through it just one more time? I've got some more makeup to put on. I'd like to sing while I finish getting ready. And I said, all right, that's fine. So I go in and then she shuts the door behind me. And she says, I don't want anybody to hear. Thinking, since when has this woman been shy? But whatever. So I sit up against the wall, and she's on the other end of the room. It's a little kind of a narrow, almost closet-like place. And she's putting her makeup on, singing. We finish the song, and that's about it. I'm getting ready to stand up to walk out, and she says, well, before you go, I just want you to know that I need to change everything, including my bra and underwear. So if you want to stick around, you can. And I said, the only thing I could actually get out of my mouth was, I don't think I need to rehearse anymore. I'll see you out there. I don't know if she took that as something layered or not, but anyway, I make my way out. So I move into the sanctuary where the wedding is going to take place. I set up on my little corner of the stage and put my guitar in place, and I just sit. You just sit and wait. They're playing music, and I'm just sitting, just waiting. Ronnie K. Johnstone, the Great Red Hope, as she's came to be known, makes her way out wearing a nice dress, and gives me a look as she sits down beside me, as if, well, you don't know what you'd missed. And I give her a look like, yes, I do. So I play my 2 instrumental pieces. And the bride gave me the check already. So I'm ready to go. All I have to do is play a song with the Great Red Hope, and I'm done. I have nothing else to do the rest of the service. I just sit there, go through the wedding, and I walk out the door. Check's in the pocket, job's almost done, piece of cake. So we start the intro of It Had to Be You. She starts singing, toned down enough. I think it's quite pleasant, honestly. But before we're about halfway through, she's taking it up. It's full scale Broadway. She's selling it. She's selling it with all she's got. But that's okay, because the bride and the groom are coming in at this point. They were actually walking in to the song It Had to Be You. So a lot of people are focused on them. They're not looking at her. Maybe that's why she felt she needed to take it up a notch. I don't know. But anyway, the bride and the groom get up there to the altar, and we're done. The song's done. My 2 instrumentals are done. Check's in my pocket. We're ready to go, right? I just got to sit through a wedding. The pastor, a tall, large woman, says, let's pray. I'm thinking, great. I mean, this is nice. A bit of spiritual meditation, in a moment of chaos. This is a nice time to focus and reposture my heart and, go mentally and spiritually where I need to be. She begins the prayer just like this. Dear Mother God, great woman of sky. My eyes pop open, okay? I'm like, what's going on? What is going on here? She starts praying and talking about how this great, magnificent woman is being united with this male. Male? Who talks like that? And so she goes on and talks about how strong the woman is and how fortunate the male is to receive her in marriage and be able to give to her in marriage. And so I'm just overwhelmed with lots of emotions and lots of uncertainties at this point. beside me, I don't want to look too distracted, but beside me, I'm kind of at the edge of the stage. There's this little pamphlet rack, and there was some information about the church there on these pamphlets. And she was praying. Most people looked like they had their eyes closed, so I kind of scooted over and grabbed one of these mid-prayer. Probably wasn't the thing to do, but I whatever. They weren't praying to my God, so I grabbed one of these things and I was kind of thumbing through it, and I realized they're a feminist church. You know, the women are the more powerful creatures. God is a woman. Everything good about the world is feminine, and everything bad about the world is masculine, and all these things. And it's very shocking. Very shocking to me. I've never experienced anything like this before in my life. I mean, I've been too sheltered, but this is a lot for me to take in this moment. I also realize as I look around the room, every woman there is taller than the man that she is with. I mean, by a foot or more. All these men look like, CPA rejects. They're half balding, their comb-overs are fading, and there's something very strange also that I noticed. Even with the couples that are somewhat matched, where the woman's shorter or the man looks like they dropped already, one of these kind of situations. The man in all of these couples has their arm through the bent arm of the woman. Literally, they are being escorted by their wives. Typically, when you escort a woman, she, you put your arm out, she puts her arm. No, they've got this thing flipped. I mean, all of these women brought their men, or brought their males, or whatever. Anyway, so they make it through the prayer. There's another woman from the church that comes up and reads a poem that she wrote about how great, women are. And somebody else comes up and recites something that's they say it originated from a Native American poem, but they've changed the words to make it fit more of reality, which means they changed it to, fit the way they think. And I remember this line of the poem. It didn't even rhyme, It's one of those poems. So it was like a short story. Says that the man will breathe in the exhales of the woman. His sustenance shall be her waist. What she has left over shall keep him. And his role is to lift up, support, and carry her dreams and her wishes. I mean, I did everything I could just to say, don't do it, man. Don't do it. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. There's more women out there. I mean, she's not worth it. But he was pretty committed, I suppose. So they said the vows, which was another load in of itself, just asking the man to be that for the wife. Will you support her? Will you take care of her? Will you lift her up? Will you keep her going? Will you live off the things that she doesn't want? Will you be her doormat? Things like that. And so then they turn to the woman, will you receive your husband? Will you allow him to support you in life? Will you be the more mature one in times of need? What? This is awful. There's no sickness and health. It's like, he's sick, and if she's healthy, then it's fine. It doesn't matter. As long as the woman's taken care of, we're in good shape. So they wrap up. They're done with stuff. They leave. I am ready to go. I've got the pamphlet in my hand. The pastor looks back at me, sees the pamphlet in my hand, and gives me a bit of a nod, like, that's right. What? What does that mean, So I hightail it out of there. I tell the Great Red Hope, oh, by the way, Dollar never showed up to record. Yeah, big surprise. But I get in my truck, load the guitar in, and I'm heading out the driveway. I look in my rearview mirror. This 6'3" gargantuan Amazon of a woman, also known as their pastor, is chucking down this driveway after me. She is booking it. I mean, she's throwing up rocks in her path. She catches up. I'm going at least 10 miles an hour, 50 miles an hour. She catches up to my window, and not even winded. It's like she's got bionic legs or something. Not even winded. She looks at me and says, "If you're ever looking for a church, we've got a spot for you." And I said, as nice as I could, sorry, I already go to church somewhere else and I'm good, thanks so much. And I leave, and I literally from a dead side, I peel out. I know I had to hit her with a whole ton of rocks, but I just peel out. I can't stay there. So I get out, I fly down the road, and I check, the check's in my pocket still, I'm good to go. And that was it. I never looked back.
Great woman of sky, I summon you once more. Can you make me buttermilk pancakes? And if so, can you bring them on down here for Big Mama Jody?
Hey, you in there? Okay, I need.
At a Cape Cod tonight. Walk hard, fuck the women who flee. Fuck the bears up in Provincetown. Heed my words and take flight. Walk hard, don't you know that it's insane? Don't you wanna get out of Cape Cod tonight?